Hey, welcome to What the Flick, UnREAL, Season 2, Episode 6, Casualty, Grace, Ben, Alonso. Wow. Okay, so let's unpack. So they are not going to press charges on Jeremy because he knows too many things about, I guess, Mary's suicide and heaven knows what else from previous seasons of the show that we haven't even seen.
We're done with Jeremy.
I think we are probably done with Jeremy.
He might be done.
Yeah, they're just not gonna call the police apparently, and so which is not great for Rachel. She claims that she's cool with it, but clearly we see her get increasingly manic over the course of the show, to the point where when Coleman finally talks to Quinn from the set in Mississippi, Quinn immediately diagnoses, is she chewing her fingers and da-da-da-da-da.
She's talking, frantically like she's going to change the world.
Yeah. Like it's like she knows the Rachel checklist, and apparently all points are being marked.
Interesting that in this, that Quinn sort of breaks the hardness shell a little bit in that moment, and it came after breaking it with John Wilkes Booth. Right?
That's what I want to call it too. Yeah, John Booth.
With John Booth too, so she connected with somebody. Connect with a billionaire who owns 7 houses, but nonetheless.
Well,
if Quinn's going to connect with anyone,
and you take a guy to your father's funeral on a first date.
Right.
There better be some bonding.
Legitimate, right? Your father dies. This guy shows legitimately supreme kindness and understanding, and so she comes out of it, and that enables her perhaps to sort of go back to one of her roles with Rachel, which was, we're partners, what is it? What's
Money, Dick, Power.
Money, Dick, Power. But also there's a mothering component to it.
There's absolutely a maternal dynamic between the two of them, and I did like that was reestablished. I think the show works best, honestly, when Quinn and Rachel have this sort of tandem dynamic. And I've been missing that when they're at odds with each other. I don't really, it's fun for a little bit to just see which one's more smart and cunning. But I like that this humanizes Quinn. And I've said this before, any chance that the writers can get to humanize Quinn, I think is so crucial to her character development. Because more often than not, sometimes we see her as just very much the show, only the show, but we see her, she goes to bat for Rachel. And I think that you're right in that this is the end of Jeremy and probably the beginning of a major spiral for Rachel. I don't think we've ever seen her spiral so quickly into an episode as we did within the first 5 minutes of episode 6.
To that point about Quinn, it was great that even when Rachel rejects it completely, with Final walks out, we get that they stay on the shot of Quinn, and she doesn't care. She's not. She doesn't care in the right way. She's not I'm not falling back into it. She's still, she's decided, no, I'm going to be concerned for Rachel. I'm not getting back into it. I don't care that she stabbed me in the back. I'm going to win this anyway.
Yeah.
I'm the bigger person.
I'm the bigger person, and I'm better than Coleman at this.
Right.
At making this kind of television.
And oh my God, and we wind up with Quinn calling Adam back in, which I did not. I early on you called it. And I was like, oh no, he's done. He's gone.
Oh right, when they
oh boy.
Now, did she call him back in? Did she call him back in before she knew the Rachel Jeremy story? Or
no, after. It was the very end, basically, when Rachel's talking about, when they're talking about how quickly she'd fallen for Coleman and how she hadn't really seemed to be this into anybody, and she was like, oh wait, I know somebody she has been this into.
So, but that works again. So she's not only concerned for Rachel.
Oh yeah, no, she's also undermining her in a lot of ways. Yeah. Meanwhile, on Everlasting, Rachel basically forces Darius to take
Beth Ann to Alabama for the hometown date, which they initially wanted it to be this big disaster, and I was kind of hoping for that. I really like that this show is exploring racism in America, and I thought that could be a really cool episode arc. However, not the case. Beth Ann's family is very nice. They're incredibly sweet, and that's just not dramatic enough.
Yeah, I think they were going after it in a very cartoony way.
Right.
And it's weird because on the one hand, you have her family being very sweet, and also at least even for people who live in the Deep South, savvy enough to know not to be racist when the cameras are on you.
I know. They really didn't give them enough credit.
But it seemed like maybe they aren't.
No, I'm not saying I'm not trying to in any way undermine their niceness, but I'm saying I think also that we're not dealing with hayseed rubes here. They understand how they're going to come across to people. They know how to behave, And mind you, there's all these scenes between Coleman and Rachel with a giant Confederate flag behind them that no one is talking about
Yeah.
or pointing at, and I'm thinking like that's what you put on camera if you want to make this about race.
And they keep walking in front of it, passing in front of it.
Whatever,
on the way to their date. Just yeah. Oh my goodness.
So this was, I watched I guess 2 episodes because I've been out of town. So Ruby got the boot in last.
Yes, we
last
were
week.
still upset about that one.
Yeah, obviously everybody is. I wonder if Ruby is going to resurface in some way.
It might. You never know when we're completely done with somebody on this show.
But it kind of begs the question, because I know before we were all rooting for Ruby in that she probably will win the everlasting show, and now with Ruby gone, we see the girls that we're left with. I don't really think that Darius has any real connection with any of them, and it's weird to see
Tiffany a little.
Tiffany a little bit,
That's
but
right,
it's weird to see how Jay and Madison and the girls themselves are trying to establish who is the front runner here. And I'm still not really clear on who that is, but I think you might be right in that there is something with Tiffany, but it does come out in this episode that she hooked up with Romeo, and that is probably not great to hook up with the guy that you're trying to, Mary's best friend.
Right, which previously Rachel had gone out of her way to try and keep him from finding that out, but obviously in her absence, Chet can't wait to get that out there.
But it might help. Again, it was, if she's honest about it, like I wanted to get off, I made a mistake, I wanted to get off the show.
Yeah.
That was, I had no it. So it might work in her favor. I hope it brings Romeo back because
I think Darius needs Romeo as a sounding board of someone in his corner, because every episode I feel like Darius is just kind of being manipulated and there's no voice of reason on his shoulder.
Well, it's kind of a cult. It's like you make the people like get rid of all the people in their lives who might tell them otherwise, so that you can make them do exactly what you want.
So Romeo really the only ethical person there.
Yeah.
He has really not done any,
he doesn't have an agenda that's
doesn't have an agenda. Yeah, he wanted to hook up with an incredibly hot girl, wanted to hook up with him.
Who doesn't?
Right. He's like, this is why we're here.
Right.
Yeah. Right? This is what but he didn't lie about it. He didn't, so and he's the one who got that great line earlier, I feel like you're manipulating me. And he's like, yeah, that's what's happening here, right? Everyone's manipulating everyone. He's the only one who's seen through that. Now, you mentioned that a Vox, I think it was a Vox piece, but if not, there's a similar Vox piece. It's like a Q&A about saving the show. And it was a thing that I was concerned about, really, I think I talked about, I hope I did. I hope I'm not just sounding like revisionist history, but that this season has seemed like a little too unreal. I got it, it's unreal. But last year had this sense of this is probably 71% of what The Bachelor is like. And now it seems like 21% of what The Bachelor's like and 79% of let's make crazy people do crazy things on TV. But I actually think it's odd that happened after this episode. This episode didn't grab me in that way. This episode seemed like fairly...
This episode was directed actually by
Shiri Appleby.
And I do think this was one of the strongest episodes in the season.
Yeah.
But I see your point, and I would agree with you. And I think that where it kind of took a bizarre, unrealistic turn would be when they brought the mother in from Central Casting. That to me was a little bit like
that was a stretch. That's a lie that's too easily undone. But look, come on, we're still talking about a show whose first season gave us somebody struggling with bipolar disorder having their medication hidden by a producer of the show. I think that's
so bad. It's
so
bad.
Terrible. But to me,
that's some dynasty shit right there.
No one's gonna know that. Like this one, the too easily disproved.
No, I understand that, but I'm just saying. I think if we're talking about, I think the plausibility index is not too far off the charts compared from season one for this year. For me, anyway.
I'm still loving it, but something still felt like it stopped being as these stopped being real people in a crazy world, and we're unreal people in a crazy world too often, and that's to me at least, that something internal that felt like a key distinction and a key line to break. But I thought this episode didn't break that line. I liked it.
I think this is a great episode to kind of steady the course of what is going on with these characters. I think it's a really good move to bring Adam back in, because it has been a little crazy because we've known more about the contestants this season than we did last season, so that adds more characters, people to care about.
Right.
And I think Adam could actually be, in a bizarre way, a grounding influence of kind of reminding the characters where they came from, how this show started, both on Everlasting but also on UnREAL, and centering.
Well, and I think it kind of underscores how much while the people working on this show are super cynical about the show itself and the whole notion of who's a wifey and who's not, deep down they all really kind of seem to believe it in a way. Like Jay was genuinely crushed that Ruby didn't get to stay and fulfill her romance. And the fact that I mean, look at Rachel's relationship history. Guy she works with on the show, guy she works with on the show, guy she works with on the show.
Nailed it.
You know, so clearly there's something in the air that she's perfectly willing to fall for, you know, where she gets into these relationships.
There's a key line about that. She says when she's not going to be Quinn, like she's 5 years from now I'm going to have my own show and a man who really loves me. Like, you know, that you wouldn't, that surprised me that they would even include the man who really loves me part, because it's almost like that would be.
Since when do you care, Rachel?
Since when do you care about that? But maybe she does.
Well, there's a difference between what you do and what you want, you know, sometimes. The other thing I want to point out about Shiri Appleby directing the episode is that, you know, actors talk about how hard it is to direct themselves because they don't have sort of an objective third party evaluating. And Shiri Appleby, like, has to do some big acting in this episode. She's having a breakdown, and that's the kind of thing where you can go too far in any given direction. And so for her to do that sort of on her own watch is all the more impressive.
And I like that she chose, for the breakdown in the beginning of the episode, wider shots, because I thought that it showed that even though she's in this world that she's created that's beautiful, that she should be so comfortable in, she's having this crazy breakdown. And I was reminded of that in how it was filmed, because you see this beautiful mansion and these people around her, and she's there just, you know, melting, like, we're going to Alabama, like, we're gonna go to Alabama. It's like, what is happening?
So they should give Adam Graham's job. Like, Adam should be the host. Like, Graham, Brennan, it's pretty, like, it's a good, like, it's actually not a bad casting idea.
Graham does that phrasing so well.
Yeah. No, Graham is so, just when he's spitting out, it was maybe not this episode, but when he's sitting in the hot tub and he spits out the champagne, everything about the guy is so repulsive. It's every week I got to think Chris Harrison's like, son of a...
Yeah.
What did I do to you people?
What did I do?
But anyway, he's good. He's good. Everybody's good in it.
Yeah, and Dr. Wagerstein's Mirror of Truth. Like that is such a, like, let's just ply them with vodka and have them say terrible things.
I also think part of the reason why I think it is that, like, it seems like Craig Bierko's being sort of pulled back from the
Iron John abyss.
Right, yeah, and right, totally, from the sort of the paleo mania that he demonstrated.
Thank goodness.
In the beginning, because they're, again, sort of some humanity. I mean, their reason for discouraging Rachel from going to the police, he's sort of heroic there and helping her. He doesn't try to take advantage of it, which I was worried he might do, but he didn't do that. And there are reasons for not going to the cops with what's his name?
Jeremy.
Jeremy is not unsound. It may not be helpful to Rachel, but she's vested in the success of the show too.
Yeah.
He does have terrible secrets to tell, and it could be awful.
Yeah.
Seems like eventually those secrets are going to get told.
I think for sure.
Yeah, obviously. Yeah. Your TV show is only as sick as its secrets.
I bet they use, my prediction is that they use TMZ in this show. Have they already done that? They already have. I think they already have with I'm saying something that's odd, because I think was the bitch please on TMZ? Might have been.
I think it was
like
actually.
they're going to shoot something with
bitch
Harvey.
please,
They're going to like TMZ, they're going to make them talk about the...
Yeah, that could be interesting.
It'd be even better if they did it with the pop star Never Stop, Never Stopping version of TMZ.
I haven't seen
That's
that.
one of the best things in that movie, is that they do a fake TMZ thing, which is actually not even as good as the Amy Schumer fake TMZ.
I've seen the Amy Schumer.
There's a lot of
an
fake
actual
TMZ
cockroach.
this year. Yeah, there we go.
I think Daniel Tosh, or no, not Tosh, Joel McHale on The Soup did one early in TMZ.
Oh, funny.
Yeah, which was good too, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I always forget. You were...
No.
Never mind, nothing. Did I say what? Anyway, so episode 7 next week. Come back. Thank you.